and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Division Z podcast. My name is Jason.
And I am K Cosmic.
Today we are joined by a special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody? I am known as DKDynamite on YouTube, a Call of Duty content creator that posts latest news, guides, and information that there is. I really am happy to be here today. Appreciate the invite.
Hey, we're happy to have you here, DK.
We're happy to have you. Yeah.
And obviously, you're really known for your news and all this information that you get that honestly is kind of crazy that a lot of other normal people wouldn't be able to get this kind of information.
It takes a little bit of research, a little bit of patience, and just again, it's almost like journalism on a smaller scale, but for gaming, right? Just looking out for
what's
out there, what's reliable and whatnot. Yeah, it's a bit of a process.
Absolutely. So, over the past week, we had a special event happen in Warzone for Call of Duty Vanguard, the Battle of Verdansk, which honestly I thought was pretty cool, but what do you guys think about the Battle of Verdansk?
Go ahead, Cosmic.
Sure thing. I mean, with it, I think it's definitely... Okay, I have to say this first of all, right? The Cold War reveal event, absolute snooze fest. I hated it. Very boring, very tedious, very long. Vanguard, bam. Train, blow up the train, reveal trailer, that's it. Took less than half an hour. It was a fun event. Reveal trailer, went really smoothly. And overall, I just have to say, I really enjoyed it. I loved the aspect of blowing up the train. I thought that was really fun. I think the trailer was pretty good as well. And I'm happy they showed it after it as well. All that good stuff. And overall, I just really, really enjoyed it. So, DK, what did you think about it?
You know what, man? In terms of the Cold War reveal, I liked that there were steps and multiple stages involved. They required us all in the party to go and do something, go and find something, complete this task. So I felt a little bit more interactive in that sense, and it took a bit longer to finish. The nuke event really could have been better. I was really underwhelmed with what they did for that because it was just a reskin of Zombies of Verdansk from Halloween. A reskin of that with the lights on, right? It was sunny out. And then, again, just a weird setup and a weird build-up to blowing up the whole map. And then we go back to the 80s, whatever. But the Battle of Verdansk, it felt a bit shorter than the Cold War one, but I love the cinematics in it. It was very pretty, and I went over this in a video the other day. I'm like, you know what? What if it was actually canon to this Call of Duty timeline we have now? Because the canon is World at War, BO1, Cold War, Modern Warfare. That's all we have right now in the current canon. What if that was like an explanation for what happened to Verdansk during the Second World War? Like, it got bombed and XYZ. We know it got rebuilt a few times for the Cold War. You know, we learned that in Modern Warfare. But the event was fun. I mean, I don't feel like there was a way to fail it. I feel like if it was a guaranteed win no matter what, you just keep blowing up, you keep shooting the train until you get to the end. But there was a way to, I guess, progress through stages of unlocking certain rewards. So that was cool. I mean, there were like 6 rewards and whatnot. I think it was cool. It was different. Yeah,
it gives you an incentive to actually do the event because of the different weapon blueprints and for people who like to collect calling cards and things like that. So there's definitely an incentive to it. The one thing that I definitely didn't expect at the end was the German air raid, which that made me feel like, crap, you know, this is World War II. Like, okay, we're getting in the zone here with this. So, and the trailer looked really cool. I really like that Vanguard is going on all fronts of World War II, instead of just, you know, the normal, we're fighting Nazis in Europe and things like that, right? And it's everywhere now. It's everywhere now, which is great.
That report took me off guard yesterday, where they were talking about how it'll be a post-World War II game. Setting up a special forces unit to take down the apparent successor to Hitler. Might have to blur that word out because it's a demonetized word on YouTube.
We'll put a zombie noise over it. It's fine.
So they're looking at it from that angle. I'm like, all right, well, it's kind of like a somewhat soft reboot, somewhat of a sequel to the other World War II game a couple years ago. So it's a different approach, and I also think it's their way of saying, oh yeah, by the way, guys, this isn't a typical World War II game, like you said, where just shooting Nazis, going from XYZ. It'll be historically accurate in terms of bringing in like African Americans, women who served, they weren't in the spotlight before. It'll still be accurate in that sense, but then take the story in a new direction that COD hasn't done before. So I think that's truly original. Like, I can't wait to see that.
I absolutely love the fact that it's kind of after World War II as well. When I read that, because first of all, I was excited for the game. I was, World War II game is going to be fun. But after they're doing a certain twist on it, it's not just World War II. It's after it. It's them completing it, making sure nothing else happens, nothing else rises up. And I think it's such an interesting idea, because they could have went with the World War II setting again, but they're like, you know what? No, let's do it this way. Let's do something we haven't really done before. And you know, we can make something different.
That's why I was saying, like, when rumors started surfacing about Vanguard, Charlie Intel was reporting on it, and people were freaking out. They're like, "Oh no, we don't want that. We don't want." And I'm like, "Can you wait 5 minutes to get a reveal, to just get something, to understand the game?"
That is true.
We didn't have the game's title at that point. People were still crying. I'm like, "Can you please hold on 5 minutes?" The hate was unreal, and then luckily the new information is like put a 180 on the community. People are actually getting hyped up about it,
And man, honestly, I just gotta say that's the Call of Duty cycle at this point, right? I mean, so many people will be super quick to jump on the hate train, and they will be super quick to be like, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever," without knowing everything. And people gotta give it a chance, and I think it's really crazy to me too, with just kind of backtracking a little bit to season 5 with, death perception being added to the game.
God.
So many people just hated on it just because Black Ops 4 bad, Black Ops 4 bad.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Come on, give it a chance.
It was something that, again, it blew my mind with how good that perception actually was once you upgraded it fully. It's like, oh, big YouTuber told me BO4 is a bad game. Do you know what that perception does? Probably not. So please try the game first and then understand what's going on with it, right? But even in Cold War's perspective, right? I think we've had some of the most content ever added to a Black Ops game, added to Cold War. It's spread out in a certain way so that Activision keeps you playing everything instead of back in the day where it's like, we're just adding to multiplayer, just adding to zombies, just maps. Now it's modes, this, that. And I always said, you know what? Even if they added 20 multiplayer maps a season, people would still say, "Oh, that's cool, but there's SPMM, so I don't care." It's like there's always a complaint from people. It's like we're never gonna win in any aspect here with the community.
That's the way thing, man. That's the thing. I think a lot of people need to realize that there is content in the game. Now, granted, everyone has their own opinion on whether that content is good or not. We're not don't want to take that away from you. But I think where people go, "Oh, Cold War lacks content. Cold War lacks substance." I would disagree. I would definitely disagree. Where there's actually a lot there. I mean, the LTMs that they have in multiplayer. I mean, I'm not even a multiplayer guy that much, but I really am enjoying Double Agent. And I think that's a really good.
Get me off the game. Get me off the game. I'm gonna get to Double Agent, dude. I can't stop playing Double Agent. Oh
hey
my
man,
God.
You know what? I might have to carry that addiction a little bit further to maybe invite you on. I'm doing a Double Agent stream.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. Greg should be joining us too.
Oh, we'll definitely do that, and I'll invite you guys, likewise afterwards. I'm planning one with the voice actors of Woods and Stitch.
I love those guys.
So I'm like, I couldn't believe they reached out to me like before the beta dropped, I think, just saying, "Hey, watch your content, good stuff." I'm like, I was shook, and all of a sudden we started hanging out, exchanging numbers, talking in the game. It's like those are the nicest people you want to meet, like just the best people that work on this game.
Yeah, man. MJ, I watch MJ streams a lot, and he's just such a really nice, genuine guy. Damon, I've reached out to him a few times before. Yeah, he's a really nice guy too. So, dude, that sounds like a ton of fun. Very
community driven, man. Definitely want to set up more collaborations with everybody. Just bringing people on to meet them and stuff. It's just it's incredible. Those guys are just, they love their roles. They love what they're doing with the game.
You can tell as well, can't you?
Oh yeah,
you could definitely tell. And it's like you were saying, it's your opinion if you don't like the content, but you could argue objectively, quantity wise, there's a lot of content there. Subjectively, the quality may not be to your standards, but you know what? It's still offering so much that other games didn't. So it's worth a try at least, to really see if you like it or not. I mean, it's been such a wild ride this year.
Here's my thing as well, the whole quality and quantity argument. With Black Ops 4, we got a lot of maps at launch. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Okay.
It's not an episode of the Division Z podcast if we don't talk about Black Ops 4 at least one time.
At least one time. Just one time.
Okay. Yeah. So here's how it all goes. Zombies Chronicles 2, hasn't come out yet. Zombies Chronicles, everyone loves it. Everyone loves remasters. Treyarch like, okay, let's incorporate this into our next game a little bit in the normal DLC cycle. Oh, these maps are boring. They're boring and I hate it. And there's too much content. I'd rather you make less content and make it polished. If it's polished and it's less and we can enjoy it more, it's going to be great. Cold War comes out. The Machine, a pretty polished map. Community gets bored. Firebase E, another really polished map. Engine's good. No perk system bad. I hate this game. So boring. Marauder Totem comes out. The exact same issues. It baffles me.
It's crazy,
bro. I can't even know where to begin with that. But it's such a funny conversation because my buddy Fajardi actually found a Reddit post that was about 2 years old, and in the Reddit post it essentially says, we're bored of round base. It's the same formula every year. Why don't we add a bigger type of mode to the Blackout map? And he literally describes in a paragraph exactly what Outbreak is with world events, vehicles, Wonder Fizz. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a reason why Treyarch does everything. And I said this so many times before. Every Treyarch game that comes out, at least Treyarch, other studios, I don't know, but at least with Treyarch, every single time a game comes out, it's directly answering the feedback of the last game every single time. Absolutely. So if you ever question why is this year, why is that year, because in the last game everybody was asking for it. They have their own ideas, of course, but they do go off of community feedback as well. So it's like how do people not realize that by now? It's crazy.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people do not realize that. They do not realize that at all. And they just, for whatever reason, they like to put on their negative glasses about everything. And then it's it's like you were saying earlier. Everyone told me this is bad, so it must be bad.
Didn't even try it.
And then it doesn't even try it. Right, no, but then of course you do have the people who do try it, and then they don't actually like it. Of course, we're not talking about those kinds of people. We're talking about just the random negativity.
Yeah, the people that have tried Outbreak and said, "Hey, it's not for me. I prefer round-based." Round of applause. That's totally fine. We're not talking about
that's your opinion. That's all good.
But there's people too that want to believe round-based is still the future, and that's just objectively not true. Like literally not true. Outbreak is quite literally the Warzone of zombies going forward, and Activision is, as they've teased in their own investors call, looking for ways to expand that. I'm assuming that'll go free to play eventually, and you have to pay for round-based. But point being is they know that the numbers that they got in Cold War from Outbreak will have them reevaluate how zombies will work going forward. But at the end of the day, it's still zombies, right? We could have these dry periods where there's no zombies for 2 years. We have to wait till 2023 for Treyarch to come back. But luckily, that's not going to be the case. It seems like Treyarch's going to be leading zombies for the foreseeable future every time. I complain about that.
And that's the thing that I think is really great too, where I think this gives a lot of studios a lot of alleviated pressure when it comes to the development cycle, because when you have Infinity Ward's game and Treyarch's game, they have to work on everything. Now we divide and conquer, and we have all these studios working together to make a super polished, finished product.
Whatever a studio shines in, let them do it.
Exactly.
Clearly, and I if you prefer any of the other games, IW Zombies is a fun experience. I really like it. Same with World War II Zombies. But I think in general, people can agree that Treyarch make the best zombie games.
For sure.
Whether your favorite is Black Ops 1, 2, 3, 4, Cold War, whatever it is, I think we can all agree. And if they make the best games, it's only right for them. If they have the opportunity to work at other studios on their zombie modes, let them do it. Let them do it. Let them take their story. There's no more news story starting and ending like Exo Zombies, IW Zombies, World War II Zombies.
This is the new canon.
All going to be going from here, all connected, all one big story. The story will evolve over time, and people will love it. And I think it's just the route to go.
And that's
Modern
the thing.
Warfare was a fresh start. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say really quickly, and a lot of people don't realize that the early kind of seedlings for code studio development were apparent in previous titles too. Like, me personally, after completing the Infinite Warfare campaign for the first time, I did it like a couple months ago or whatever. I forgot when I specifically did it, but when I beat the campaign for the first time, it was like, oh yeah, special thank you to Treyarch for helping us with this, development of this game. And it's like the seedlings of the co-developer games were there. So I think this is just the results of that, and it's that this is the future of Call of Duty for sure.
It really started with like Modern Warfare 3 in a way, like Sledgehammer and Infinity War teamed up because there was obviously Modern Warfare 2, which was wildly successful, but there was a lawsuit afterwards with Infinity Ward and Activision. Infinity Ward broke up. That team then formed Respawn and did Titanfall, XYZ. But there was a little team left of Infinity Ward. They're like, oh, we're short-staffed now. Sledgehammer comes in. They co-develop Modern Warfare 3. And then after that, we don't really see too many co-developed games. But like you said, there's obviously times when some devs come in and they help with certain aspects. Cold War is like, I think, a start where it's like, all right, Raven did the whole campaign. Treyarch is the multiplayer zombies, which I guess worked out because of COVID and restrictions, so they had to get some help.
Right.
And then now we're taking that even further, where we may have games going forward that always have co-developed features and whatnot. So
I think
give us Sledgehammer visuals, give us Modern Warfare engine, give us Treyarch zombies, merge all that, give us a Raven Warzone integration. Keep doing that. And I think Activision's like, hey, we're not going to do it like the community wants, where you maybe release one game and keep that active for like 3-4 years. We have to drop a game every season, but let's at least give them what they want in the sense of what they prefer from each dev and just merge that each time.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Agreed.
That's cool.
I think that's just a great marketing strategy too.
Yeah. The thing is, business-wise, it makes perfect sense. Because if someone hears, oh, Treyarch are working on zombies this year, and beforehand, you might not even want to buy the game. That was with me, World War II Zombies. I was kind of on the fence. I didn't buy it at launch, and I normally buy the games at launch. But I kind of caved in, and, oh, looks fun, I'll buy it, If I hear that Treyarch is developing Infinite Warfare 2 Zombies, I'm going to buy Infinite Warfare 2. Absolutely, 100%, because I'm excited to see what they can do with that game, that setting. And yeah, I think it's a good marketing strategy, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's really interesting with Modern Warfare, right? It kind of set a new precedent for how games work with DLC seasons. They kind of adopted that Fortnite formula a bit with how they released DLC. Black Ops 4 was the start of that too, but Modern Warfare really took it off. And then they started a new timeline, right? Because Modern Warfare is a reboot. People still are confused about it to this day, by the way. People still think it's a prequel to COD 4, and it's not.
No.
So it started a new timeline. And there were originally rumors, from the press. They had released this, I think it was Kotaku. They broke the news about Sledgehammer falling through as lead dev for COD 2020, and then Treyarch took over, made it Black Ops 5. I guess at one point, who knows, there was a plan to make a Black Ops 5, or there was even rumors of a hard Black Ops reboot like Modern Warfare, where it was just a fresh start. Somehow changed their mind, said, you know what, we're just going to do a Black Ops 1 sequel. But it was confusing with the recast, of course. But you know what, it still fits in great in between Black Ops 1 and 2, so they made that work. But you can see a lot of changes and shifts over the past few years, which is really fascinating to me.
Yeah, by all means. I think even though the whole recast of the Call of Duty, of the Black Ops universe kind of characters, I think that in the grand scheme of things, it wouldn't really matter if it is just, this is just our new canon. If anything, this is, in a way, I guess you could say it's a statement, whether it's unintentional or not, to be like, yeah, this is our new canon, this is our new how we're going to operate things, and we're going to do what we want to do. We're going to hire the voice actors we want, and this is like the new. Again, I don't know if that was intentional to be like, we're recasting everyone because this is how we're going to do this totally new thing, or what. But intentional, not intentional, it definitely comes across as that. I mean, I think, it's funny too, seeing, James C. Burns on Twitter and things like that respond to people all the time like, oh, why did they not get you for Cold War? He's like, I don't know.
Oh, man.
Like, I'll fucking know.
Yeah, it's a pretty known thing, I think, in the gaming industry, where sometimes changes are made and you don't find out about it till the press posts an article about it. You don't even know yourself. It's kind of weird how that goes. Celebrities have the same issue sometimes. Oh, they got recast in a movie, or they got dropped, and they find out when we do. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I really like that point about it being a statement, because there is evidence that Black Ops 2 is still canon. I will give it that. I think by Season 6 we'll know for sure if it's leading into that.
Oh yeah, by all means, Black Ops 2 is canon.
By all means, but what if they say, hey, we're going to keep parts of that canon, but we're going to still tell a new story in our next game that's also in the future.
True.
But again, retcons this, and so they can keep telling sequels with our new cast, and you never know, they can do whatever they want. It's like, and there's still that 30 years as well. For, the past and future of Black Ops 2, that gap in between where Mason was missing. I don't know if you remember that, but there's a lot of time they can still fill in with more stories. So they have a lot of freedom with Black Ops.
I think one of the main things to me that stood out that made Black Ops 2 canon, like I'm convinced 100% in my head, is because reading the intel for Onslaught on Cartel, the Raul Menendez Cartel and all that is oh, okay, so Black Ops 2, this is a Black Ops 2 tie-in with the name drop of Menendez. Okay, Black Ops 2 is canon in the Dark Aether. So it gets me excited to be, to know that things like that are going to be tied in.
Yeah, it's really interesting because in Cartel, you get to see Menendez's father on the bed, right? Because he got assassinated. But there was a game called Black Ops Declassified, only on the PS Vita.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
Very few people played it last summer to get prepared for Cold War. I actually bought it, and I streamed it. It was so funny. And Declassified is a game in between Black Ops 1 and 2. Like, it's literally Cold War on handheld device. And Cold War retconned a lot of those events from that game, but still kind of acknowledged it in a way. They kind of rewrote parts that game already covered and then fleshed it out differently in Cold War. So it's cool retcon. Treyarch paid attention to everything. I mean, it was cool how they did that. Because the end of that game, you kill Menendez's father, and then it leads into BO2. But Cold War is like, Cold War is like, oh yeah, he died from this instead. Like they similar situation, but they just rewrote it a bit. It's really cool how they did that.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, I never played that. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a much different game from what you expect. Yeah,
absolutely. Really sounds like it. I mean, with all this talk of the developers and, studio switching and changing, you were mentioning something to us before we started the podcast. Was something is going on with Infinity Ward. Now, I do have to say this before we get into the topic. This is public information, right? We won't get taken down if we leak insider information, right?
Yeah, I only do public info these days, my guy. It's
okay.
It's one thing I think for most content creators to know is like sometimes you get sent stuff and it's like, oh, that's real spicy, but again, you could take advantage of it, post it everywhere. It's like why get that rep though, right? Just keep it official, keep it professional.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I like to do because it's scary to be on the wrong side of things,
Right. That was the whole reason why I asked there, to make sure this is public information. Make sure we're not going to get a cease and desist from Infinity Ward here.
No, it should be good. Yeah.
But yeah, so what's going on with Infinity Ward?
Yeah, I mean, a couple months ago, first off, we had saw that the voice actor of Ghost was let go. And for one reason or another, there was like some real sensitive info posted about why that happened. He then denied the allegations, put out his own statement saying that wasn't true. Again, we can't play, the judge here. We don't know exactly what went down behind the scenes. Who knows? Sense. But he got let go. He then had mentioned in a stream himself that the studio heads, I believe, or the leads of the writing team, I believe, also had left Infinity Ward because they didn't agree with the direction that the sequel was going in. And then today, I forgot which journalist reported it. I just saw the tweet before we started that they hired a temporary writer at Infinity Ward. So I'm wondering if Modern Warfare 2 was very grounded like the first one, where it's kind of it's a standalone game set on its own 2 feet, and then because of the success of Black Ops with Cold War, Activision may have said, hey, let's keep tying that in more. Let's throw in David Mason, for example, in Modern Warfare 2. Let's throw in some more Black Ops tie-in because now everything's canon. Maybe the writer was like, that's kind of inflicting, or that's kind of conflicting with my vision I had, and they went their separate ways. Who knows? But point being is there's a lot of shifts happening at Infinity Ward. So I'm wondering what their sequel's going to look like in the next year, because I personally wasn't a fan of the first one a year and a half ago. It wasn't my cup of tea. I campaign, it's like, okay, cool, but wasn't thinking the multiplayer. Spec Ops was unplayable for the most part. I mean, it just wasn't my year, wasn't my game. People could disagree, that's totally fine, but I'm wondering if the second one's going to be drastically different from a writing standpoint and gameplay standpoint. I'm very curious on that.
That's a very interesting thing to hear about. I mean, I think for sure the direction of the next game is going to be totally different with all new writers. And I mean, like you were saying with the Black Ops tie-ins, I really think they're gonna put all their eggs in that basket now that this is happening. So it's very interesting to hear.
Right
now, I wonder if it's going to be a smooth kind of transition, or is the story going to be consistent and then just completely change pace, change atmosphere.
Now, that begs the question, right? Point. Is Warzone canon? Is Warzone even canon in that sense? Like they say it is, but it's the thing. Remember the Zombies Chronicle timeline? I have it framed on my wall, by the way. The Zombie Chronicle timeline from 2017. Which I'm trying to remember how I got it. I think they made one that Blundell had, and I think Glitching Queen sold like a replica on her site or something. That timeline obviously filled in gaps we didn't know about, cleared things up. We need that again for the current rebooted timeline because things are so messy. It works, but it doesn't. Trying to tie in Warzone, Dark Aether, Black Ops 1 still there. It's like, hold up. It gets really confusing to understand.
Honestly, it's probably just better you don't think about it and just like, okay, there's a World War II train here now. Okay,
it's like that's fine. It's like Maz Kanata in Force Awakens. Good question for another time.
Literally for another time. Like, is it like COD Mobile now where everything goes? Or like, oh yeah, here's this, here's that. Captain Price in Cold War. You know,
I was just about to mention that.
Okay, perfect. I read your mind then. There is something called oh my god, I forgot the name of it. I forgot the name of it. Wow. It's actually canon in Firebase Z according to Intel. It was an operation.
Dad, isn't it? Is that what Price's father? Am I thinking
Price's father? Yes, Price's father.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be mad at myself. I can't remember this name. I got it right here. Hold on.
I think it's the same name.
Is it
Price Senior? I guess I don't know. I heard a little bit of something with Price's dad.
Operation Charybdis. I don't know why I had a brain for Operation Charybdis.
Okay.
So this was something teased in Black Ops 1 through Intel, talking about this secret operation that was to assassinate, I believe it was Mason, Hudson, and Weaver. And that fell through after a while. Black Ops Declassified on the Vita surprisingly touches on it a bit. It was led by, I think, Ryan Jackson, CIA, other people, because apparently Mason, Hudson, Weaver, they're doing dirty work. They had to be, taken out. Fell through. And for years, we're like, what happened there? Who was the person in charge of assassinating them? I think it was a French version of Black Ops 1, revealed it by mistake, and it was someone called Jonathan Price. And and I'm like, whoa, I'm like, wait, hold up a second. And then Firebase Z has intel that confirms that that operation fell through. I'm like, they still remembered it to this day. They addressed it. And then all of a sudden, Price is added to Cold War Season 3. I'm like, just say that it was his father, because the timeline lines up, but the game says it's Price from Modern Warfare. I'm like, you were so close to just throwing in that.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. So I'm like, what? Especially Woods in Modern Warfare, for example, he doesn't look old at all. When they added him last year for the pre-order bonus, they could, you would have had him look like Old Man Woods from Black Ops 2, but they didn't do that. I mean, not in the wheelchair, but just bald and gray hair. He looks fine. I'm like, what? So it's like some of those things didn't really make much sense. We'll just say the pre-order bonuses are like not canon or something, whatever.
I think with skins, you just have to kind of consider them not canon. Because even with zombies, because you can go into Samantha Max's, saving Samantha Max's, and she asks, are you Requiem and all that. I think with skins, especially with stuff like this, it's just like, don't acknowledge it. Just let it be.
I will add to that, though. When you play as Samantha in Firebase or Outbreak, there's intel that says she has dreams of her taking part in missions that she shouldn't be in. So I guess the canon for that is, it didn't really happen.
That's interesting.
It's a really funny way to Treyarch say, hey, let's address the fact that you can save Samantha as herself. You know what I mean?
So this brings up two important points there. Number one, like we were saying, the operators don't matter, which I've always thought it just doesn't matter at all, just because all the story is intel. Or two, we're gonna get super crazy here, right? But what if we have the Dark Aether, and time works differently in the Dark Aether, like the Kingdom Hearts Realm of Darkness. Time works differently in the Dark Aether, and then it's like some sort of catalyst for time travel, and then time travel gets added into Call of Duty, which I don't know about that one, but Project End Station, and I'm sure there's gonna be more nefarious things with that. We'll learn what's Vogel and all that kind of stuff in Vanguard. So absolutely. I feel like Project End Station is going to touch on a little bit more of the science behind the Dark Aether, and maybe explain some of the tie-ins from the future and the past, and where things kind of fit in the storyline. Maybe, like I said, using the Dark Aether as a catalyst of some kind for time travel, just because. I mean, that's just what it seems like to me when Samantha comes out of the Dark Aether, and she's different. She's definitely changed. Yeah. She's seen some shit. Yeah. And you listen to the Lost Souls intel too. These people are totally different. And you come out of the Dark Aether being totally different. But so how much time has truly passed in the Dark Aether? I don't think we necessarily know that yet. So that's kind of an intuition that I'm having.
I think didn't they hint that she was in there for about 3 months or so, but it was like years while she was there. It's to her, like, something like that, right? Yeah,
it's kind of like when you're in space and you're far away and time goes quicker on Earth or something, and time goes slower for you. It's kind of like that. So
I read an article about that last week. It was like, if aliens are X amount of light years away from us, we're still in World War II right now.
Oh yeah, so exactly. Because
that's so weird how light years and time.
It's weird, isn't it? Right? It's like so stars that you see in the sky. A lot of them have been dead for billions of years. It's just the light still traveling to Earth.
So
it's a big mind fuck. Ignore it.
Big brain conversation.
Dude, I mean, the thing is though, I mean, we could totally be overly big braining this, but at the same time, just because of the kind of source material we're having with the alternate dimensions and the Dark Aether and all these forces that we don't quite comprehend, MK Ultra and the numbers and all these really big conspiracy type of themes and mentions in the storyline, I don't think it's too outlandish to say these really strange and out there theories, to be honest.
Not at all, man. I definitely think Craig has made it clear through statements, Craig Houston that is, that he wants to step away from old Ether in terms of characters, multiverse, maybe even time travel, but with the direction of stories going, like you said, there's a lot of gaps to be filled in. I think it'll be really grounded in science. I mean, because it fits the theme of Cold War anyway, and also World War II, where it's really grounded, creepy, science fiction-y, and that's kind of what Final Reich was doing and most of that game storyline. So I think Craig will try his best, if he's going to do time travel again, to do it in a less confusing way, because if you weren't a hardcore Zombies fan back in the day, for someone to just step into this, it was a couple of hours of conversation to get through it all. I posted a full story video last year before Cold War dropped, and I included everything from campaign, zombies. It was very difficult to go through everything, and I missed a thing. And it's still people out there commenting, "Oh, it was too much. It was overwhelming." I don't blame those comments, man. It's old Ether was tough. New Ether, I think Craig will try to do it a bit more casually.
They're definitely going in the direction where they're wanting people to understand the story. I think with World at War Zombies, they made something and they weren't expecting it to be as popular as it is.
For sure.
And they kept developing the story with different heads. Like, well, we have you had Jimmy, you had Jason Blundell, you had all these other writers, and all these people, not writers, the people that were in charge and wanting to take it to different directions. I think with Cold War, it's a fresh start. They can make it easy for people to understand. Even if people aren't invested in the intel, they have a rough idea of what's going on. And I think going with Vanguard and all that, people will understand it's a prequel, and now add more of a base to the story. And I think going forward, it's going to be a lot more grounded and as grounded as a zombie game can be.
Because that's the thing, right? With Craig, Craig being really like the main head of the story now. No more Jason, where Jason Blundell was I very just heavily involved in the story, and his shrouded in mystery type of storytelling, where everything is a super duper secret, and maybe you'll find out about that, maybe you won't, that kind of a thing.
Does that coin do something?
Like, that was cool for the time, but now that we have Craig firmly at the lead writer's position, he's like, let's make it a little bit more comprehensible. As much as I love my boy Jason Blundell, it's definitely a welcome change for the future of Call of Duty.
Yeah, I think it's a much different approach this time around, and in many ways, though, I think because you have the whole intel system, which people really aren't a fan of, that you could see on Twitter and Reddit. A lot of people just aren't a fan of that system. But I wonder if Vanguard will do the same thing. It's another question with how they'll tell a story, because Black Ops 3 and 4 spoiled us with cinematics. And you can argue most of the story was told through cinematics in BO3 and 4, even though there was still radio stuff to listen to. Alpha Omega, for example, is I think a great opportunity to go through, which is that map had some of the richest storytelling of all of Ether through radios. It filled up so many loose ends with so many characters, but it was through radios. It was different. It's one thing to have 10 radios on the map versus like 200 pieces of intel a season. There's a big difference there. But Zombies originated on cryptic storytelling, radios, ciphers. It got really massive in BO3 with the cinematics, and then now that we're kind of stepping back and doing something a little more simple, people are not adjusting to it well. But hey, I mean, that could change. I'm not opposed to it. Yeah, I'm not opposed to the new way of storytelling, but I'm just curious to see what they'll try to do differently in Vanguard in a couple of months. Because, as a reminder, too, we'll get our last round-based map for Cold War in maybe October for Season 6? Yeah. And then a month later, roughly a month later, another round-based map for Vanguard. So people that were, not enough round-based maps. I get it. I get the argument there, but we're going to get spoiled really heavily with Vanguard back-to-back.
It's going to be kind of like
it's gonna be a crazy month.
With Black Ops 3 and the transition over to Infinite Warfare. You had Broad Crovey, and then I think just over, was it 2 months or so later, you got Revelations. I think it was quite condensed.
Less than that, if I'm not mistaken.
And then Infinite Warfare came out another 2 months or so later, I think.
Yeah.
And then we got Zombies in Spaceland. It was a very, very condensed time, and I think it's going to become the same case here, where we're getting a brand new game. If you didn't like Cold War, I'm sure you'll like Vanguard. If it's on the Modern Warfare engine, have they said it's on the Modern Warfare engine? I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a Modern Warfare engine. I'm excited. As much shit as Modern Warfare gets, I think we can all agree that the game feels quite.
It feels good.
I think there's definitely something to know with how just the breadcrumbs and it was laid out for us already that this was going to happen with the zombies events in Warzone, where you go to the computers and you activate the zombies events. That gave us our first glimpse as to what zombies would feel like on a Modern Warfare engine. And it's definitely different. I think a lot of people will have to adjust to it, but I think it'll be good in the long run. Kind of touching back a little bit on the intel, a good point that I think needs to be said about the intel is where radios on maps like Alpha Omega that have are really heavily reliant on tying up loose ends and story focused and driven. I think where the intel in Cold War is a little bit different is because we have this new story and because there's a lot of new but old characters, but they're new in the sense that we're really finding out who they really are, like Samantha and Weaver and things like that. I think these intel, whether it's pieces of paper, radios, whatever, humanize our characters a little bit more, and give them a little bit more depth with what they're truly thinking and how they interact with others and things like that. I mean, I guarantee you, how many people out there who truly knows the personality of Raptor 1? Like,
I wouldn't say very many.
The people watching, like, besides him being a meme. Right? Besides him being a meme in the community, Raptor 1 is a tough as nails, smartass kind of a guy when he's being beat around by Kravchenko. And, so you get to really learn who these people are and their personalities. And the intel, I think, is a really great system if people take the time to learn the story. I mean, fans before have taken...
Everybody has it.
Exactly. And, I think it's really ironic because so many fans were patient enough with the Aether storyline to, get into the nitty gritty of that. But then now that we have even more information to learn even more about a new storyline, the fans aren't doing it, which again, I guess it's new and
really
it's
weird?
not.
I'll tell you what's weird about that is that people always have talked about replayability in zombies, right? I'm like, okay, it's not, and maps are not going to do it. It doesn't matter how many maps you drop in a week. People will fly through them like that. BO4 proved that, we know. But Liquid Divinium is also a system where I'm like, all right, if you have an in-game currency where you can always unlimitedly get something. That right there is huge for zombies. That's another point. But the other thing is with intel, right? Theoretically, whenever new intel drops, that should be hours of replayability alone to have to get all of it.
Yes.
Going through trials or Easter eggs or looking around the map for things. That alone should be its own grind, separate from leveling up, getting Dark Aether, hitting Master Prestige, beating the Easter eggs, playing the maps. So realistically, they've actually added more replayability to it over the past few years. To, again, respond to the feedback of the last game of what people wanted. And then it's again that COD cycle where it's like people either aren't giving it a shot or are listening to people who maybe influencers, role models to them that are saying, "Oh yeah, the system sucks. Who cares? It's boring." No, it's like. Please give it a shot for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's right.
I personally think that Intel is one of the best decisions they've ever made. I think 100%. The one way they could improve on it is perhaps making it a little bit more like in Extinction, it actually showed videos and things were going on. Like it made it a little bit more cinematic and stuff.
I see that.
They could go down that route perhaps, but Intel in general for storytelling does wonders for zombies because all of it's in one place. You don't have to go look up a YouTube guide to find out how to get certain things or listen to radios. It's all one place for you. It's all there.
You know what's weird about that is that, there's a lot of intel, I think, because there isn't character dialogue of the crew you're playing as. So that time Craig would spend scripting, which I think he showed this in Alpha Omega preview. He was in an interview, showed a stack of papers this big. It was thousands of pages of script for Alpha Omega between Ultimates and Primus talking to each other. And instead of putting the time in to do that, he put more time into the intel. I'm like, cool. But it's like you made a point earlier, the crew doesn't really matter that we're playing as. We are the crew, but the actual quote-unquote crew is Weaver, Dr. Gray, those characters. And Maruto did a cool spin where it was like the villains we're talking to. Such a great change of pace. I love that.
That was cool.
It's interesting, right? Even back in the day, BO4, we'll take that as an example. There was some really rich dialogue that nobody was talking about in Blood of the Dead, Alpha Omega. So it's like, all right, you get a playable crew again that has dialogue amongst each other. Are people even listening? They were in BO3, I think, but BO4 people were just not paying attention. So why would Craig waste his time doing that again? He wants to try something different. Let's see what the new approach is. And then it's like, again, answering the feedback of the last game every single time.
100% agreed, man. Yeah. I think with how different Cold War Zombies is compared to other iterations, it's just I think it's just going to be, we said this earlier, it's going to be some getting used to maybe a little bit. It's going to be people giving it a chance. It's going to be adjusting to it just because I know a lot of people are really guided by the nostalgia of the past games. To be totally honest, I'm guided by nostalgia too for some things. I mean, my favorite character is Tank Dempsey. I mean, I love the character. And, do I want to see him back in Cold War? Fuck yeah, I want to see him back in Cold War, but I know it's just not happening. Like I know that's just not happening. But
you know what? I would never say never though about a future installment that brings very new versions of those people again. I mean, I think Craig really wants to take this off the ground first with new people, whole new direction, and then one day we can get a reimagining of XYZ characters. The closest we're getting to that is with Samantha, and then Eddie, who will inevitably be voiced by Nolan North. That's what we're all guessing right now.
For sure.
That's the closest. Yeah. The closest. I mean, if he came back for COD Mobile, Richtofen, and there's no way.
Exactly.
And then and plus the way that Eddie or the director sounds, the way that Klaus sounds, really gives me Richtofen. I'm like, there's no way it's not Eddie. The evidence is right there. I did a whole video about it. People that don't believe it. It's like Eddie is right there in our face, and Craig made sure that in a statement months ago, I think it was like in February or something, he said, you know, the only two characters that were left after Old Ether is Samantha and Eddie, and the whereabouts of unknown characters, Eddie, will be addressed in future seasons. And what does that mean, right? It's like clearly Eddie's coming back at some point.
For sure.
That's a huge point.
I think definitely going into Black Ops Cold War, it was inevitable that we would see both of these characters again in some capacity. And you know, the way it's being implemented, I think, is just doing really great. It's just doing really great.
Loving it.
I love it.
Yeah, I think in general, Cold War Zombies, and I know the time's almost up for it, is because we're moving on to Vanguard soon enough. But I think Cold War Zombies in general has been a very positive experience. I think personally, sometimes it got a little bit dry. Absolutely, that comes with zombies naturally because it's, you know, quite not a tedious mode, but you do the same thing over and over and over again. But I think overall, Cold War is the best zombies game we've definitely gotten since Black Ops 3. That's including IW.
That's a solid argument, man. Hot take for Twitter and Reddit, but I think it's a very fair statement.
I really do. I really do. I think it did a lot of things that the community wanted. We wanted a more perfect, something better.
Yeah, Cosmic, don't go on Twitter for a whole week now.
Yeah, just your message is gonna be hot, dude. I put out a tweet the other day about my top 10 CODs. Everyone was doing. I'm like, I'll just join the hype train for a second. I put Cold War at number 1 just for many reasons. You know, content creation, direction, replayability. Yes. People were roasting me, and I'm like, opinions exist, my guy. Relax. You know what I mean? It's like some people put Modern Warfare at the top. I can't even imagine how that's possible. But again, that's his opinion. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of tier lists for zombie maps either, because everybody has such different preference. I don't like them because someone would be like, "Oh, Dead of the Night, worst map." I think Dead of the Night's the top 3 for me. I love that map, but hey, that's just me. Everybody has different taste in tedious Easter eggs and whatnot, so it's okay.
And that's the thing, man. These tier lists pop up. Oh no! I swear to God, every like 2 or 3 months. Like
there's one. Yeah. Like, it's one that I agree with ever.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, man.
I think they're going into it. They're going into it, and it's like, okay, Transit, you know, is a tier map. Absolutely love it. It's massive. It's a great experience. Horizon Draka, F tier, awful map. Story driven.
Oh, it's like you put Verdansk over Blood of the Dead, and I'm like, how?
Like, it's a World of War map. There's hardly anything there.
No, it's like it's what I'm saying. Side East, like Blood is the thing is with BO4, it's a tough game. People haven't realized BO4 is actually a difficult game for many reasons. I mean, Voyage is the most difficult if you actually rank them. Blood isn't as hard, but like, for example, the Spork map. I don't know if you're familiar with that quest in Blood. Yes. Do you understand how many hours it takes to beat that? Like, we're talking a 3. And I did the main quest one time. I had blue screen my game for doing it. I did the Spork map and main quest in one game. It's a 4-hour run through without speedrunning, of course. I'm like, dude, that is a tedious map. And I like things like that, but obviously other people didn't, so they're not going to go.
And you know, that's the thing. That's the thing about Blood of the Dead too, man. It's like, I like Blood of the Dead for just playing. You know, I like you know, the Magma Gat's one of my favorite wonder weapons of all time, and you know, I think the Easter egg definitely has its problems. I mean,
definitely.
But I think Blood of the Dead definitely gets too much hate, in my opinion, and I think the thing with Voyage of Despair is, dude, Voyage of Despair, the reason why I just do not like that map is this the Catalyst and just everything thrown at you with Catalyst. They're my worst enemy ever. Like, I despise Catalyst with a passion.
I think that's probably the biggest problem with Chaos. Like, going into it, I didn't play too much Chaos, but I can completely respect the maps. Absolutely, all beautiful. Voyage 9.
Ancient Evil is one of the best looking maps ever.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Crazy,
the atmosphere and the colors and just the overall environments are amazing. And even for the like Blood, for example, I know that map got a lot of hate, but actually going back and playing it, there's really not too many issues. Easter eggs awful. 100% agree. Some of the steps are really bad. It makes me like I'm not enjoying myself from playing it. But when you're casually playing the map, when you're casually playing, you get your guns, you go camp somewhere with your friends, whoever's playing with you. Overall, it's a solid experience. It's not Mob of the Dead level, but it's good for what it is. And I think people really look at, like you're saying earlier on, DK, bigger content creators' opinions and nostalgia. You know, they see them as as a role model. And someone says, "Oh, Blood of the Dead is the worst map ever made," and that's it, awful map. Yeah, they'll be like, "Yeah, you're right. It is a bad map." I've never seen it that way before. You mentioned it.
I'm curious. I'm curious what BO4 would have looked like if many things were different. Right. Number one, they didn't have to rush out the release to compete with Red Dead Redemption. That game was like a month too soon. If they did year one Ether, ended it off with max budget, and then year two Chaos. People, I guarantee you, I say this all the time, people 110% would have said, all right, Ether just ended on the best note possible, Great War, all types of crap, and then I'm okay to move on. Let's try something new. We'll see. If Treyarch impressed us with this Ether ending, let's see what they have in store for a Chaos year two, and then boom. Also, if they have to work on COD 2020 and step away halfway through BO4 cycle, I'm curious what else would have been added. There were so many variables. Like BO4 is a tough game to review, in my opinion, because there's so many variables across all the modes. I mean, they had to shoehorn in. I'm a massive Blackout fanboy, by the way, but they had to shoehorn in Battle Royale at the last minute as well. Scrapped the entire campaign. Multiplayer got reworked because it was like an Overwatch thing at one point, and then Activision was like, "Nope, we don't like that." They had to rework it.
I vaguely remember that Overwatch thing.
There are so many things, man. The BO4 had to change, and I'm like, and they still pulled off a great game in my opinion. I'm like, wow. But it was a very tough game to comprehend as to what's up, what's wrong with this, what's wrong with that. I mean, of course, and then the issue at launch was blue screening, and again other issues that just BO4 was a really interesting game all the way around, man.
BO4,
the most polarizing Call of Duty game in my opinion.
Crazy, I think it's the most unique in terms of just the overall everything that happened with it, even leading up to it and the leaks. And I was like, Overwatch, some characters are actually going to be able to fly. Some characters can have certain kill streaks. And I remember that was a big one. Most of them would be ground-based, but then I must have been in Ruin or something. He was originally supposed to have like a jetpack or something.
I think there's some maps on multiplayer that you can still see there was room for like wall running, like BO3 had. There's some maps you can tell were clearly built for it. I'm like, oh, well, they decided, hey, let's just keep it in. It works with the map flow for whatever reason. I mean, it was interesting, man.
Along with that as well as like it's with the leaks, they were saying, oh, certain characters will have access to certain guns, and it's like,
man, I don't remember. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was one as well. They were really going for like a more tactical, like Overwatch type, maybe somewhat Rainbow Six game.
Yeah, sounds really interesting.
I think BO4 multiplayer does what everyone wanted with Black Ops 3 and just made it so it was Black Ops 3 without jetpacks.
Is it just me, or is everybody recently on Twitter saying, "Oh, BO4 was a great multiplayer"? I swear to God,
a lot of people.
Everyone's like, everyone's like, "Oh, it's the specialists and holding hands and the work." And then today I'm seeing like, "Oh, Cold War's the worst multiplayer. BO4 is a gem." And I'm like, I swear, if I pull up this guy's Twitter, you'll see some hate like 2 years ago saying BO4.
Yes.
I'm like, again, the COD cycle.
COD cycle,
dude. And you mentioned the jetpacks, right? And Blackout. Oh my God, the LTM was so fun. It's still in the game today. Heavy Metal Heroes. Grapple jetpack. Outbreak has the grapple now. I wouldn't be surprised if a jetpack ever got added to Outbreak in a future iteration of it. Dude, cool. I'll take it. I'm like, hey, let's do it. Yeah. And that's why I said this the other day. I'm like, if you ever reviewed Outbreak when it came out, please reevaluate that review now, because there is so much content now.
100%.
There's people that I'm not going to name any names. There's creators I saw that reviewed Outbreak like when it came out. We're playing solo, which is that's not the way you're supposed to play Outbreak. There was only like 3 regions in at the time. No side Easter eggs, no main Easter eggs. Now there's so much in it. I'm like, please reevaluate your review and convince your community or your audience to rethink what they thought about Outbreak. It's such a different game now compared to what it was in my launch. It's insane.
Cosmic and I were talking about this, I think, just last week on the podcast. Outbreak, we knew from the very beginning, Outbreak was going to be one of those game modes that would get better with time. Just like Zombies Onslaught. Zombies Onslaught at the start, I personally thought was not very good.
It was broken.
It was terrible.
Broken.
Like, I just didn't like it. But now with containment and all the drops and things like that, it's an arcadey type of zombies experience, which I think is really cool. And Outbreak, now there's so many things to do in Outbreak. I mean, there's fucking helicopters. You're shooting down helicopters with tanks, and like it's like an action movie now.
Auras. Like
it's so cool.
So I add to Onslaught, for example. I know it's PlayStation exclusive, so everybody's like, "Oh, Xbox and PC can't get it." I know it's frustrating. That's the business side of the gaming industry. November 1st is when Xbox and PC will get it. But the thing is, right? Onslaught is quite literally what people ask for, especially in BO4, where they're like, can we get some gross in-house basic survival maps with no Easter eggs, just there for fun? Der Schatten comes out in multiplayer. It's a town below Der Eisendrache. It's a multiplayer map in BO4.
I love that map.
And everybody's like, add a mystery box. Just add some, like, just give us some gameplay on that. What does Onslaught do, right? It says, all right, let's try to do that where we don't have to spend too much time making survival maps. Let's just take all the multiplayer maps, even combine arms maps, and let's just add zombies to it. Simple. And everybody wanted that back then. Now it's out, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's reused content." Did you know zombies build
that
we
haven't actually talked about that.
The reused content.
Zombies is built off reused content. Everybody says, "Oh, Gorod, last original map." Hold up, did you know Gorod Krovi's a World at War campaign mission? Can we all point that out real quick? It's like there's no such thing as zombies without reused content. The problem, and I'll try to not rant here. BO3, it set a different example of zombies because it provided a different atmosphere when you compare that to BO3 multiplayer. The zombies maps are just, oh man, the atmosphere was crazy. Whereas Cold War is really intertwined with multiplayer Warzone in terms of mechanics, gameplay feel, energy. It's different, but there's always been reused content in zombies. You know what I mean?
From the very beginning, there has been reused content. Literally, Noctur Untoten. I was Noctur Untoten, man.
Like. Oh my god, like everywhere, man.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing as well that I absolutely love. Even with the machine with Noctur Untoten being in it, they're like, oh well, Noctur's in it, reuse content, unoriginal map. With that same logic, I could go to Transit. I said that Transit was unoriginal because it has Noctur Untoten in a cornfield somewhere. And it's just like, come on, just appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. It's like especially Outbreak. Like I get people that are like, oh, it's just multiplayer maps, lazy. It's like, all right, well, do you actually play multiplayer? Like if you actually play Fireteam and Outbreak together, you're like, all right, I'm sick of the same maps. Okay, there's an argument there, but I guarantee people complaining don't even know what Fireteam is. Like they have no idea what the mode's about. Like, it's crazy.
I think that's where I'm a little bit different too, because I don't like Fireteam. I just can't get into it. Like I just
got it. Yep.
So like where Outbreak is for me, where it's like, oh, I don't mind playing Golova and Alpine and Sanatorium and those maps because it's like, cool. Because just I don't know, man. Like whenever I jump into Fireteam, I just spawn in and get sniped immediately, and I'm like, I don't know.
It's sweaty, man. I'm a fanboy of it, but I will tell you, it is sweaty. It's pretty much where everybody goes if they're not a massive fan of Warzone and they kind of want that with Cold War's engine and whatnot.
I feel that.
No, I totally get it though. Fireteam gets frustrating sometimes.
So that's really where I definitely separate myself.
Yeah. No, it's Outbreak. I'm assuming in future iterations it'll be different what the regions are, but I think if Vanguard, if I had to guess, they'll probably take Vanguard's massive Warzone map we're gonna get and break that into pieces for that game's Outbreak.
That would be awesome. I would really like that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I can't believe we went this whole time. What has it been? 50 minutes since we've been recording.
I don't mind, man. I love this stuff.
We didn't even mention Warzone's getting a totally new map in Vanguard. Everybody, fucking play Verdansk while you can, because it's going away forever when Vanguard comes out.
I'm not mad about that.
No, listen, I think it's well overdue. I think it's time that we get a new. In a perfect world, keep the Verdansk, right? I think keep that map there. But if they will go with a completely different map, absolutely go for it. Absolutely, it's just boring, that Warzone map after a while. And it's good for what it is, absolutely. But we need something new.
For sure, dude.
Verdansk is like, all right, I get what it is. I respect the map and whatnot, but the press had posted so many articles like in the past, few months, like, oh, we're getting a Cold War Warzone map with the season 3 update or whatnot, Euro Mountains. I'm like, okay. And then some curious Georges out there posted gameplay of it. There was a real map done. and it's unclear if it was going to release, as Fire Team Battle Royale, or was going to be in Warzone. Nobody knows the specifics of that, but then they still reuse the regions anyway for Fire Team Outbreak. So it's like, who cares? Still use the content. But maybe there was a plan to say, hey, let's get rid of Verdansk, and then they're like, you know what, we don't have enough time, wasn't ready, and they reskinned Verdansk and changed some stuff up. But now we are finally getting an actual replacement. This is gonna be a third bigger. I'm like, I can't wait to try that. And plus, anti-cheat coming in, that can also change the scene a lot. I still find it hilarious. They had to put out like a piece of artwork that said new anti-cheat, like they're promoting them. It's still funny to me
because they know it's such an important topic. They know it's
a big deal, and that's what we want.
Yeah, it's still crazy.
Yeah. Did you guys ever see on Treyarch's Twitter when they post some marketing double XP announcements and then people are commenting anti-cheat? Treyarch doesn't work on Warzone, dude.
No, they have their own way to worry about.
Well, I mean, the thing is that I can give them a little bit of slack. Is there are people who do cheat on Cold War.
Absolutely.
I mean,
man, yeah.
It's a little bit crazy what some of these people do and the lengths they go to hack and to wall ban. What am I doing? Aimbot wall hacks. That's what I'm trying to say. All that kind of stuff.
And you know what sucks? You know what sucks is easier than ever to cheat now. Have you seen them chromo things you can buy to plug your controller into and it makes you aim like a god?
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you do
the Cronus?
Here's my thing, right? Here's my thing.
Yeah.
Why would you play a game and cheat? Why? Do you enjoy doing better than other people because you're cheating? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
They got neglected as children, and they're just trying to take it out in the world.
Something happened in your childhood. Something happened in your childhood. And now you're trying to prove. Now you're trying to prove to the whole world that you're the best, and it's like,
they're trying to impress a girl that came over. Like, hey, look how good I am at Warzone, man. Let me just beam the whole lobby with like shooting the sky to win the game. Watch this, dude.
Wow, you're so good. You didn't even shoot them.
Yeah. It's so frustrating.
Wow, this game must be really realistic because he shot up in the air and the bullet curve must have traveled and killed
downward.
him. Wow, what a realistic game.
Dude, it's really sad to see though because again, whenever someone is actually good at the game, everyone's gonna get accused of cheating now. Because for example, right? Every time I drop a nuke or I post a tweet about it, I show gameplay in the video. It's like, oh, what a bot lobby you were in. It's like, dude, you understand how many restarts, how much lobby switching I do to find lobbies like that?
How many bad games you went through to find
to get a nuke game? It's like, and it's like, and then if you're not hacking, it's reverse boosting, which I don't even know how to start with that. Do you just kill yourself? Do you rubber band your controller? I don't know where to start with that. Yeah.
So essentially what reverse boosting is you have your main account. Okay. I watched a video about this. It's you have your main account and you don't touch your main account. You make a second alt account. And that account, you make that account to absolutely shitty. Like 0 and 30. And it's the lowest KD ever. You pair your good account with that shitty account. You go into matchmaking, and because the second alternate account is so bad, your good account gets put into that matchmaking because of the skill-based matchmaking, and then you can do a lot better.
Described, man. Oh my! You just described the process that gives me a headache. I want to hop on and just play the game. I want to do all that extra work.
I'm the same way. I am the same way, dude.
And the thing is too, skill-based matchmaking, that's a topic for a whole separate podcast, dude.
But that's for sure.
Yeah.
Long story short, a Treyarch dev, it was so funny on Twitter a few months ago. Somebody had tweeted like, "Oh, SPMM's brand new," and the Treyarch dev replied, "It's been in the game since BO2, my guy."
I remember
and
that.
the guy's like, "Oh no, you're lying." And the guy's like, "I made BO. I literally developed BO2. I
literally made the game."
The thing is, SPMM was upscaled in Advanced Warfare.
Yes.
Got very upscaled in Modern Warfare, so it translates to Warzone. It's apparently the same in Cold War. I don't agree with that. I don't feel that. Other people may, and we all have different experiences.
Yeah, because I definitely feel that.
I don't feel it. It's weird. It's weird. I feel like Cold War is just I don't get as many bad games as I would playing Warzone or Modern Warfare. It's all perspective here. We can't talk for everybody. And it's weird.
You make a good point there because I definitely feel like the Modern Warfare and Cold War skill-based matchmaking that I experience is they're par for the course. Like they seem the same to me. Where it's like, I have two really good games, and then I'm getting quick scoped every 3 seconds, and I'll win a Warzone 1 in 30.
Yeah, I'll win a Warzone game, and then I'm like, I'm getting off because the next lobby's gonna be $20,000 on the line, COD champs, like your life depends on it. Cold War, I could play a good like maybe 5-6 games, and then I'll get like 3 terrible ones, and then go back to what it was. But yeah, it's Everybody asks for ranked play. Everybody asks for ranked play. Like, oh, that's the solution. It's not really the solution because it's not going to affect SPMM in pubs. It's just it'll be there for an option if you want to like go through a different process, brackets, cool. Which I think Vanguard's going to have at launch. By the way, they're really investing in the competitive scene, but still, it's not gonna change SPMM for any other reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, with it, what I find is it's definitely the case where I do pretty even for the most part, and then occasionally I'll get a really bad game and then a really good game. That's how I see it. Like I always find myself getting a few kills and get killed a few times, and then vice versa. I might get a kill streak, maybe not. And then I get them games where I will do amazing. I'll get 50 kills, I'll get 2 deaths. I'm like, wow, I'm the best. Next game is like, nah, no. All that stuff before it didn't happen.
Isn't that any multiplayer though? People out there exaggerate. It's unplayable. I'm like, bro, play any Call of Duty. Play COD 4, bro, before it was hacked. Or any multiplayer from other genres. No matter what multiplayer it is, you're always gonna have games where you're a god. You're leading the team. You have games where you can't move. That's how every game works.
And there's so many factors as well. It could just be the case that the playstyles everyone there are the complete counter. Like what you're doing is what they're not good at. Like for me, I like to run and gun. But a smart player, for most of the time, would kind of not camp, but stay back and be tactical and wait for people to come around corners and all that. It's really just how you play, I think, and who you're playing against, because it could be the case where they're spamming grenades and there's nothing you can really do about that.
One thing to remember is that players are just getting better. COD multiplayer has been around for so long. People over time will adapt, and it'll be easier for them to transition year after year to the new game. So it's one thing. Players are getting better. And again, the whole like trend of making loadout videos, that's always been a theme with Creative Class, but more recently with Warzone, it's always been, you got to watch this person for the loadouts and patches, and then what that's done as well is that's created more metas than we ever had before. So players are more sweaty. Players are using different play styles now. Everyone wants to be the next big streamer. So the gameplay overall is getting sweatier. That's just also a fact.
You make another good point.
Crazy. Yeah,
it's a completely different environment than it was a good 5 or even like 10 years ago. Before that, it was definitely a lot more. The main audience for COD wasn't so much into esports and things like that. In my personal opinion, I was more of a casual player. I just played the game because I played the game. And now it's definitely the case where people are like, okay, if I can do okay at this game, why don't I do great? And if I try doing great at this game, why don't I try and earn some money? Try to earn some money on the line. You know?
Right.
It's one of them things where the scene has completely changed, and it's changed from more of a hobby to an actual competitive sport. It's always ever since esports started, it's been a competitive sport. But now, especially with all the things that are going on in the world, and people have been stuck at home for the most part, I think people are really doubling down on this whole marketplace. And like, okay, this is where the cash is going to start coming in. I need to get good at this now.
Well, especially since just esports as a whole market and as a whole just environment,
it's expanding rapidly.
It's exploding every day. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just what was the report that I saw a while back? I talked about this on the podcast too. By like 2023 or 2024, it's projected that esports will out-earn Hollywood. Like it's absolutely crazy, and honestly, I'm looking forward to that because esports, it's obviously my thing.
Deserves attention. Yeah,
gaming is my thing, esports, and I love it. I'm getting more involved in it as well, and I'm really looking forward to the future of it. I mean, dude,
you know what really bothers me, man? Doing full-time YouTube, there's a boomer mentality that goes around still from older folks and people that they're like, oh, you make money playing video games, get a life, and it's like it's not. You know what's funny about that mentality, dude? It's like people that have gotten big off Warzone and other things, multi-millionaires, they have more money than these boomers and these people can even imagine. True. It's like, at least show some respect for the new entrepreneurship going on here, right? Especially YouTube.
Exactly.
You were talking about replayability earlier. I wish I had more time to play the game, but 90% of my time is literally the content, commentary, editing, recording. I wish I had more time to lay back and play. So it's like, actually, no, I don't make money playing video games. I make money creating content for people. It's not. Yeah. And then for casting, dude, there's a whole career you can make out of that. You can make it so far with that. And I know you will. If you it's just all about momentum and consistency. And I promise you, Jason, you will make it there. 110%.
I appreciate that,
especially. Man. No, seriously. And then 2023, you're saying they're going to outpace Hollywood. I believe that, man. It's like YouTube I don't know if you heard this, but it was reported YouTube invested, I forgot, I think it was 200 million or was it 20 million, something around that range, in exclusivity for CDL. on YouTube. So you can't go on Twitch anymore. You can't go on Twitch to get like drops or whatever when you're watching an event. Now it's all on YouTube. YouTube gaming is also expanding to compete with Twitch, get Call of Duty exclusivity. Business is crazy these days for gaming, man. It's only getting bigger from here. It's not stopping.
I mean, I think a lot of people don't. I think they underestimate the power of something like esports, and especially with, you know, even the Call of Duty League. I think a lot of people underestimate that. I know a lot of people, bring back CWL. Oh, this format sucks, you know, whatever. I think they underestimate the CDL, and this is year 2 of the CDL, and they can improve on their newer format. They can improve and they can get better, add new teams, new just events or game modes and things like that. And I
will cut them some slack though. I'll cut them some slack because the whole online thing proves
that's another huge factor too.
People, I'll say the proper year 1 will be with, I think Vanguard will be all in person. Because Modern Warfare was or wasn't at all. Cold War was half.
Modern Warfare.
I can't remember Modern Warfare.
Modern Warfare was half in person and half online. Cold War was entirely online until like Major 4.
Very recently. Okay. Yes, that's oh my god, that's all like 80% of the whole thing was online. Yeah. So, and I think people pointed out like the skill levels and the performances were definitely altered because of being online only. It wasn't truly LAN and in person. Let's really see how that goes with Vanguard if it's all in person. But I went to the last Anaheim event for BO4. God, such a great event. I had so much. I met a good buddy of mine that I've been playing online with for years. We had first met at that event. Such a great experience. I do miss the way that CWL worked. I like that format, but I think in terms of business, I have to, understand that Activision is looking at ways to really expand and just take it to a different level, which they couldn't really do with that other format. So I understand that business-wise.
Well, think about it this way. This is Call of Duty's NFL now. Franchising and the whole, that whole market there. And I mean, I think if people dug a little bit deeper into some of these teams, they would realize that the esports organizations that they did follow from CWL they still have stake. Envious owns Empire. Misfits owns Mutineers. So
they're all still there.
They're all still there. It's just a franchise.
Right.
It's
it goes to show people make their money at a certain point with whatever they're doing, and then they take that and say, hey, I'm going to either stay in this category or industry. I'm going to invest in this, run that, or move over here and do this. Like that's the beauty of of entrepreneurship, the beauty of the way the business works in gaming. People
absolutely.
And the fact of the matter is that we do have huge entrepreneurs and moguls like Gary V in the Call of Duty League too, with him and Rocker. It's insane that names, man. I mean, Gary V definitely made a big investment there. I think Rocker's going to go far just with Gary V alone, just because of I'm a big fan of Gary V. I think he does a lot of good stuff, and I just think Rocker has a good namesake to them now that people will flock more to them. I think just because of that, and then they'll be like, oh, Rocker, that's Gary V's franchise, and then you get like some of these bigger organizations, 100 Thieves owns LA Thieves. Oh wow, 100 Thieves, what that's a great organization. Wow, that's their franchise. It's the Call of Duty's NFL. Long story short,
absolutely,
it has to develop and it has to get even bigger and it will expand bigger. And I guarantee you, and they would be so stupid if they don't do this. I'm saying right now, expand into zombies. Expand into zombies. I'm saying right now. Obey Alliance has Obey Undead. Let's do some more teams. Let's get something going here.
Zombies. You talk about that. I'm like, wow. First off, it's funny when you have like ESPN anchors making fun of esports, and I'm like, just you wait. Like you said, if they outpace Hollywood in a few years, just you wait, and they'll be buying their words, right? But you talk about zombies, right? I'm like, all right, zombies. The community has really done a good job forcing it to be competitive. I wouldn't say it's built for it, so to speak. I mean, you can make it work, and the community has done such a good job with challenges and ideas and how to organize it. I'm a big fan of that because you look at like RNG Easter eggs and whatnot. It's frustrating because it's like with Z4C, for example. It don't matter how much you practice. It doesn't matter how much you practice. That too, but the day of the event, everything that can go wrong could go wrong. And for example, my team is Z4C. We practiced, we tried with the time we had. It was only a week in between, the draft pick and then the event. But when we practiced, nothing really went terribly wrong. But they had the event, crashing, disconnects, glitches, It's like, how can you have prepared for that? You know what I mean? So if they ever find a way to develop zombies in a way that gets rid of those problems, hey, that's cool. I mean, that'll be awesome. But BO4 was a good example of like where Blundell was taking into account, we want to take into account they're gonna do a ZWC. Let's do custom mutations to make that easier. And that feature never got used. What about proving your stats and proving that what you said you did in a record is legit? The Black Ops authenticity stamp system, nobody used it. So that's just examples of when Treyarch themselves was like, hey, let's try to step into that. Let's invest more. It wasn't quite there yet. So maybe in a few years they'll start saying, hey, Outbreak's it's big now. It's the Warzone of zombies. Let's also tap into some franchising, some competitive. Right. There's so much opportunity there, 100%.
And that's the thing too, man. It's I think with zombies and the way it works right now, like you were saying, it's not necessarily tailored to a competitive environment. Albeit you do have Easter egg speed runs and round speed runs that a lot of people are competitive on. I mean,
very good players.
You see all these people, even on Obey players. Zombie Dog, he's a really great player.
Crazy skills, dude.
I mean, a lot of these players are really skilled, and these players should be recognized by esports organizations like we do have with Obey Alliance. And I think the fact of the matter that something like that is even happening in the first place, these are the seedlings. This is the start of something much bigger. It might seem like, there's no interest right now from Activision. It might seem like there's no whatever, right? Because I know as of right now, the Activision isn't as super keen on right now competitive zombies. We just have to be a little bit more patient, I think. I think it's patience. I think it's developing the community.
Yeah. Over time, they'll see that when Outbreak eventually expands, becomes free to play, brings in a whole new player base because of that free to play aspect. I think when they see the true interest in the game mode, and it's something we could work on. Maybe round base isn't the way to go with it, but I'm sure there's something we can do to make this game more competitive. And I think with Easter eggs, not the route. I love Easter eggs.
That's a good point, man.
I think Easter eggs, it's just no, it's all good. It's all good. With Easter eggs, it's just not the route for competitive zombies. Absolutely not. Too much RNG. I think with speed runs is absolutely fine because you can try over and over and over again. You get the best RNG possible, no downs, everything goes smoothly. Absolutely fine. But at the end of the day, there's skill and there's luck as well. You can be the best zombie player in the world.
Totally understandable.
If you go to the Revelations Easter egg and you need the wonder weapons and you don't get the wonder weapons first hit, it doesn't work. It's a wrap. Doesn't work. Exactly. You can't beat it at that point. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think with the future zombie game modes, I think the way to go competitive would be something like Grief. I think Grief personally. Where it's a level playing field, absolutely. And I know there is RNG aspects like from the box with the ray gun and stuff. Everything's sort of RNG. I think it's hard to make zombies not RNG because it's such a different game mode compared to a normal multiplayer. But I think there's definitely ways they can make it so it's not so much RNG like with, for example, Easter eggs.
Yes, I was going to say, I think with trying to make it less RNG based and kind of piggybacking off of what DK said a little bit ago, with Black Ops 4, we had Rush. We had Gauntlets. We had game modes like that were specifically designed to be competitive.
I get it, man. Gauntlet was tough. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoyed, again, maybe because this is from a content creator perspective. I love making the guides for them because it was so fun to explain some of the goofy challenges and how hard some of them were. I had fun with Gauntlet a lot. I know the sticker reward was silly. They could have done like Mastercraft rewards. We all know that. Everyone's like, Rush though. Rush is the weirdest thing to me because I did a series called Rush Hour last year, just before Cold War came out, for the sake of giving Rush a little bit more love because that mode was really cool. And the weirdest thing, you guys probably noticed this, it released, every time a new map came out, Rush was available for it, but they never talked about it. There was zero mention, any blog post. So Rush was there, but like you said, designed for competitive. And it's weird because it's like, you made a great point. Easter eggs really aren't the way for competitive. I think it has to be actual modes just for it. Grief was the start of that. It needed more polishing, but they didn't have enough time. Turned also was the start of something that was considered competitive. So I think it would have to be modes designed that are fun to play and fun to watch. If Activision's going to invest in that scene.
I think Turn's quite fun to watch. I think even playing it is like it's like you're in the corner and you're like, where'd the fuck it go? It's definitely one of them game modes where it really gets your heart pumping and you see the zombie running towards you and it's like a run fast.
BO3 didn't have any LTMs and zombies. Cold War has had A few. I mean, Jingle Hells, we won't talk about that, but Crank
doesn't really count.
Crank was cool. There has been a big outcry for Grief, and I don't know if you remember, there was an interview with Blundell before the came out. And he said it was ready. And
I remember
again, but people, again, it's all about critical thinking skills. People in the community sometimes just don't realize that sometimes things can be moved, changed, scrapped.
Right.
Like things happen like this. Like I will tell you, Modern Warfare last year or 2 years ago now, I think somebody had posted proof that supply drops were coming to the game, and then a week before launch, Activision put out a statement saying there's no supply drops. So a week before release, they change something like that. I mean, that's how crazy gaming is, and people just don't get that. Like, oh, it was made up. It's like, no, things change. News is tough. It's not like, that's why I don't like the whole like insider scoop reputation some people have, because you're walking on thin ice every single minute. You can get 100 reports correct, and then one thing gets changed or scrapped. Oh, you're lying, making it up. I see that with like MCU scoopers, gaming scoopers all around. That's why I'm like, hey man, I love talking about the news. I'll make clear like what's official, what's rumored. I love talking about everything. But it's a tough it's a tough route to go through.
Especially something like the MCU. Constantly things are being leaked out. Like Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. They're definitely going to be in the movie. And it's like, they could be. Absolutely.
If they're not in that, it's going to be insane, because those rumors have
been around for so long.
They've carried the marketing for the movie without any official info, zero trailers.
Have you seen the amount of fan-made trailers that look really good?
They're getting better and better each time.
And I'm watching it. I'm I'm like, I know this isn't real. I know this isn't real, but I really want it to be. I just I think it's one of the things where there's definitely with leaks.
Yeah. The
leaks. They make things spicy. They make things spicy, absolutely. When you hear, this is coming. But at the same time, it's again, like you were saying, you get one bit of info wrong, that's your information is, from that point on.
I never want to step into that reputation. I don't like it, and I think it's like going back to Vanguard. People were so willing to believe the bad info about Vanguard. There was rumors that the game was broken. There was like no maps. This was like 2 months ago, and then everyone's like, "Oh, the game's gonna be dumb. It's already a flop." Zero info, by the way, officially. It's just all rumors from hearsay, Twitter accounts, and then all of a sudden, everything gets revealed, and it's a total 180, complete opposite of what people were saying. It's like, why are people so willing to believe negative info? They can't just stay optimistic and say, "Hey, let's wait." Official news, people are just. They love jumping on the negative stuff, but then anything positive that comes out, they complain. It's like,
because a lot of people are driven by by those negative clicks. It's an incitement. It's an incitement of emotion that gets people riled up.
Oh my
and they know, like a lot of these times, some of these people even know it gets people riled up too. So they'll just say it to say it.
Hey, I won't name names, but there's people multiplayer driven. They have channels. Why their channels exist, dude? And I say this because it's insane to see. Every video, negative title, negative commentary. This sucks. This is the worst. Why are you still playing the game?
I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess like one of these titles, and we won't mention names. But Code Snore is that, for example?
Yeah, and I'm like, dude,
Code Snore. I don't think I've heard of that one.
Modern Warfare, and I'm like, okay,
Modern Warfare.
You know what we're on about?
Or Advanced SPMM, and it's like I see all these tweets and these videos. It's like, I get it, man. The people are clearly making some money. These videos are getting a lot of views, but the audiences are so toxic. It's just continuing that sheep mentality. Everything's bad. The world sucks. We should all die. It's like, oh my god, dude, it's so crazy to see that. Like, am I crazy saying that? Like,
no, I mean, you're not crazy, man. I think there's definitely a lot of positive to look at. I think modern Warfare. That's a funny one, because honestly, like I gotta give him credit for that one though, because I didn't like Doors particularly.
I'll agree with it. Yeah,
like that's a funny one. But I think the thing is too, it leaks. I think another thing to keep in mind is too, I think like Zombies Chronicles 2, with that being such a huge point of contention in the zombies community.
Hey, you're talking to the right person about that crap, dude. It's
so absolutely. Funny. I mean, I over the last few years, I've changed my perspective on Zombies Chronicles 2, just because it's like, okay, at first I was like, fuck no, this is all bullshit. Like, this is all stupid. Yep. I'm not listening to any of this, right? But now it's just like, okay, yeah, all right, it was planned, it was all right, but now it's like, things are bound to change, and I honestly feel bad for people like you who report it. and like constantly maybe get shit about it too.
It's like I ranted on this on my first podcast a couple months ago. I actually made a 20-minute rant last week. I don't really do rant videos. I made one last week for the first time about Chronicles 2 because I'm like, hold up, and without going off of too long of a tangent, but it's weird because during BO4's ending, I would say, or towards the end of when TAG was coming out, Modern Warfare's season, there were people out there that had Twitter accounts. They were posting articles. They were getting legitimate leaks about Modern Warfare, and it's embarrassing to this day how that happened. The whole game leaked. I'm like, what? How did that happen? I mean, who like orchestrated that? I don't know how, but the entirety of that game leaked out. Those same people were claiming all this stuff about Chronicles 2 and blah blah blah, BO4, DLC 5, whatever. I had just make videos talking about how that would make sense. Here's the evidence we have for it. Just going over the recap of it, and you know what? What I noticed during that time was, people were like, oh no, it's BS. There's no way, BO4 sucks. They would never do that. Even though the evidence was literally in game. All of Varied was there. Transit. I'm like, wait. So they were all denying it then, calling people like me, just making videos talking about it. I'm not claiming I have info or I'm an insider. I'm just talking about it. Oh, this guy, screw this guy, BS, whatever. Okay. And then Cold War, it's been a little bit better received than BO4, so to speak. Now all you see everywhere, where's Chronicles 2? It'll save the game. I'm like, there is zero evidence of it being Cold War. It would be cool. But if anything, BO4 was like the last chance. Victus was already there. The assets were there. I mean, insiders today are claiming oh, it's on hold or it got ported.
And see,
cool. I'll take it, but it doesn't make sense anymore.
That's the whole thing, man. With Victus and Black Ops 4 being the last chance, I genuinely believe that too. Where it's like that was the last chance they had for Chronicles 2 in that regard. And I don't know, man. Like I think
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say really quick that I think people need to find the separation between person and information too. Where some person just sitting there reporting the news. And it's not necessarily that the news is coming from that person. Now, granted, there are people out there who do report the news, and it's like their Bible, and it's like all fake information, and it's all like that kind of a thing, right? And there are people out there who, I don't want to say malicious, but they definitely do it for misdirection, and they know they're doing it for misdirection. So I think that you have to kind of make the separation, and you have to really use your own.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Exactly.
Don't shoot the messenger until otherwise proven that the messenger is guilty too.
Exactly, because the thing with the Chronicles 2 is like, if I'm called all these names during BO4 season, and I don't want to make it about me either. I don't care. It's like, that's the internet. You get harassed. You get who cares. But I don't want to make it about me. But the fact that I was called these things and bashed on just for talking about it, but then all of a sudden everybody, all these big channels and all these people like, oh, Chronicles 2, celebrate, it's happening, it's confirmed. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, where were you guys 2 years ago when it made sense? You know what I mean? It's such a flip-flop, and I went off on a crazy rant about it, and I'm like, you know what, man? If it happens, it happens. I'm cool with new content first above anything else. People are now like, oh, well, it's getting moved to Vanguard. Do you see transit in World War II working? Like, I don't see that either. You know what I mean?
Here is the main factor. Here is the main factor for me as well. I think it could come to Cold War, but it won't come as a Zombies Chronicles 2. Because with Transit, Die Rise, and Buried, they're all story-driven. And since we don't have our actual characters, and it makes no sense for them to add in these characters and make it can't play as operators. It's just too confusing. Yeah. It's too confusing.
Craig put out a statement saying that the end of the line for Primus, Ultimus, and Victus was Tagger Tony. It was a Q&A Treyarch did on, I think it was IGN something, IGN UK or something. They put in the Q&A. Craig was like, it's the end of the line for all three of these crews, done. Yeah, you could argue, which I've argued before, Victus and the Dark Aether, lots of opportunity there. Lots of opportunity. Or they're dead, they merge into a fucking Orda, and there's some monster. Maybe we'll get closer to that, maybe we won't. It doesn't really matter, because point being, the only thing I can see, at least personally, is an Outbreak, Transit, Green Run type experience. I can't really see Die Rise and Buried working, but the thing is, like, I think they actually hinted this too in a blog post recently, where they've always wanted to do open world zombies in a way, and they said this during BO2, where they had, there's a lot of interviews with Jimmy Zielinski and other people that talked about this really crazy idea for Transit, which we never saw because they didn't have time, hardware limitations. We're talking PS3 and Xbox 360. How much can you do on those platforms, right? Outbreak kind of is the real Transit, so to speak, with an open world environment. Absolutely. That's what they were going for. So, hey, maybe we'll see a Green Run Outbreak that they wanted to do eventually. I could really see that.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. Green Run and Outbreak. Hey, I'm all in.
I'm all in for that.
Absolutely,
too,
yeah.
Yeah, but the whole Chronicles 2 thing is like I've squashed this so many times. People still are, I get comments every once in a while like, "Oh, you said this." I didn't say anything, my guy. I made videos first about the in-game evidence, then I talked about the rumors that we all have the freedom to talk about freedom of the press, right? But there's people that have misconceptions about like where this came from, who claimed what. It's like, no, man. There was reason to believe it was happening. We talked about it.
And strong reason as well.
Very strong, and I think it's been milked more in the Cold War season than the Black Ops 4 season. People in BO4 are like, "Oh, we don't want that after the game," but like you said this earlier, one of you guys, Chronicles was successful, BO3. Everybody wanted more remakes, so what did they do? They pretty much made BO4 a Chronicles 2. You launched with a Mob of the Dead and 5 remake. You then had a Nuketown and Call of Dead remake as your seasons. It was Chronicles 2 structured differently. All they were missing was the Victus maps. Everything's there. You know what I mean? So it's like that's a big question, man. It's crazy.
Man. And I think before we end off the podcast today, I just gotta say, like I said earlier, I was definitely one of those people before who thought everything I heard about Chronicles 2 was bullshit, and I was like, oh, this is all stupid. I'm not gonna believe any of this shit. But it's like, things are bound to change, and things are, it's just how it is, And
you have to think of it from a marketing standpoint as well. Is that if they have remade them and they're just sitting on ice now for whatever reason, eventually they're going to want to bring them out. But it's just when and where. Cold War.
It's ironic, man. Victus was on ice too. Victus was on ice for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. So
you could apply the same logic there with Modern Warfare 2 Remastered multiplayer. Nobody shuts up about that. Modern Warfare 3 Campaign Remastered, which was proof of, which got denied recently by Activision. Lots of things that I guarantee you are sitting there beautifully on a shelf. They're just like, we don't need to put that out right now. We're doing good with Warzone.
Let's leave it.
Right.
We'll save it for a few years.
Until we do something wrong and we need to make everyone happy.
Yep.
So I guess a long story short, to recap this the latter half of this podcast is there are many nuances and idiosyncrasies to the gaming industry that there's more than meets the eye, and it's only the tip of the iceberg that we're all seeing in all honesty, and that's just the truth. That's just how it is. And
we haven't seen anything yet, man. There's so much in the pipeline that I can't wait to dive into with everybody. It's gonna be amazing.
Absolutely. Well, we covered a lot in this episode. We covered Battle of Verdansk, Vanguard, Chronicles 2. We just anything and everything that was like kind of a huge important topic in the Call of Duty community. We talked about esports, things like that. I mean, this was a great episode of the podcast. It was a really fun time chatting with you. And I can definitely see in the future having you on again.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that, dude. Thank you.
I have to say as well, this has definitely been a really good episode. I think this might be our longest episode we've had.
Is it?
Eventually. An hour and a half.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
Maybe, is it hour 40 is our longest?
We'll have to look back, but this is definitely one of, I would say maybe like top 5 longest episods, probably.
Nice.
Top 5 longest episodes of the Division Z podcast.
Look out for that video coming out soon.
Yeah. I went off for like 3 hours on one of mine. I'm like, oh my God, we had to stop. I'm like, dude, we kept going. There was so much, we were just diving so much stuff. I'm like, all right, let's put a stop here. 3 hours is good. We're go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'll feel you.
That's what passion does, man. You just keep going on and on.
You keep going on. You can keep talking. That's why. That's why we started. That's why we started this podcast.
That's why we started.
Because we found ourselves. I had the idea, but it was because we found ourselves in a phone call, and we talked for like a good. We could just talk about zombies for ages.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to talk about. You could talk about. You could have a debate on why World at War Zombies is better than Black Ops 3 Zombies, and there's so many points that you can make valid, and then you can be like, oh, well, actually Black Ops 3 is better because and it's just zombies in general. I think it's just exactly. Yeah.
I love Call of Duty, man. I mean, I love talking about everything like we did today. I mean, that another reason I started the podcast too is like-minded people. We're passionate. There's a lot to talk about. I mean, never ending conversation, man. I love that.
Absolutely. Well, everybody at home watching, what was your favorite part of episode 59 of the Division Z podcast? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I know that was a lot to take in today, but go ahead and comment your favorite part nonetheless. And of course, we have the link to our Discord server down below in the description, our merchandise, our Twitter, all of that in the description. And before, again, we end off, any final closing words?
Go ahead, DK.
Peace out, everybody. That's how I end my videos.
And there we go. What do you think, Cosmic?
Just thank you to DK for coming on again. It was great having you on, and I have a strong feeling you'll be coming on again in the future.
For sure.
We will meet again.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, once again, everybody, thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Division Z podcast, and we will see you all next time. Peace out.
Bye, everyone.